Hello and welcome to Health Matters from ACTV 20, and I'm Dr. Parks. I'm here with a really special guest today because there's something that you haven't heard about, or if you have, you may not know what it is. So I'm going to help you understand that, and when you're done watching this today, you'll understand a whole lot more about what helps people stay healthy and how to keep your life as best you can. So let me explain something before I introduce my guest. If you have heard the word epigenetics, this is the buzzword that everybody's going to hear, and you're going to want to know what it is. So epigenetics is an actual study of genetics, but we used to think that genetics were hardwired. This is all there is. You have blue eyes, you have brown hair, you're 5'6", that's it. Well, now we know that genetics are changeable. And that study of how genetics can change is called epigenetics. And we understand now that things like lifestyle, diet, and environment play a huge role in how your body responds and how it's going to react and how long you live and how healthy you are. So this is the key. Now the problem has been, since they've been studying epigenetics, how do you measure epigenetics? How do you measure whether a person's healthy or not? So that's why I invited Cynthia Johnson to come and talk to us a little bit about her program that seeks to help people get healthy, stay healthy, live longer through the study of epigenetics, and her machine that she's using here, and she'll explain to you, will help us with that. Welcome, Cynthia.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Parks. No, thank you so much.
Now, we all want to know, how is it that you came about to study this program for cellular wellness? And you know, where did you get started and all that?
Well, I've been a health and wellness coach for the past 20 years, and 20 plus years, and because I was sick for many years, and that's why I became a health and wellness coach. I enjoy helping people be healthy and be able to play with their children, their grandchildren, and have a quality of life. And through this, I was noticing that I was pretty well guessing what they were needing in their diets and what they needed to eat for as whole foods. So this is wonderful that now we have a way of checking that. So it's like now we have a way of knowing what the 21st century environment, how it's affecting your body and how it's affecting your DNA. By using epigenetics, and epigenetics is how your environment affects your DNA by turning on and off your receptors. So it's great. It's like a roadmap.
It is a roadmap. Yeah. So you started with wellness coaching.
I did.
And now you've gotten into helping people see the results of what they're doing. Because
Yes.
before, well, how would you know? Well, I didn't get as many colds last year, and my teeth seem to be doing better. But
Right.
these are fairly subjective. They're obscure to a lot of people, and sometimes they take so long that you go, well, is it worth, you know, eating good food and not drinking and smoking and not going to the gym? I don't know. But I think you've got a great program here. So can you tell us a little bit about how a person gets started? I mean, when a person calls you up and says, hey, I'm interested in extending my life and living better, how do you start? Do you have a survey with them?
Yeah, I talk to them about what they are doing at that time, and then what their needs are and where they're at. And then I have two different types of reports that we run. One is geared toward more of the training environment, losing weight, just being optimum health at all times. And the other one's more of a wellness report, and it really works with the gut. So I kind of figure out where they're at, what their goals are, and then we run the report with them. And we go from there. So would you like to know about the technology, about the report?
Let's find out about the technology, because
Yes.
this is one of the things
Yes.
that impressed me. I've had this done, and I thought it was right on. So tell us a little bit about what it's measuring and what it tells us.
Yes. So what measures? So how we do this? We use the follicle of the hair that's been under the skin for 80 days. It has the same enzymes as the brain, the spinal cord, and the nervous system. So we have to take it from the nape of the neck or the brow area. We take enough where we need to have the follicle, remember. So it's just the follicle. We place it in the device, and the device uses resonance technology. And resonance technology is sound waves, and sound waves very similar to MRI. You know how powerful MRI is. So it uses that technology. Within 3 minutes of taking the sample, we scan it. And we scan it and put the information into our computer. It is scanned and then it's sent to Germany, because it's a German-based business. That's where the lab is, and that's where they have the big equipment and the big rooms. And within 15 minutes, a 34-page report comes back on the computer, and I can actually email that to my client, and then we do a consultation. And it's going to tell you all kinds of things. It's going to tell you what vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, antioxidants that you need more of according to what stressors you're having, because it gets the stressors in your environment out of the outside of your hair, the circular part of your hair. And so it's a quick way of really knowing what you need more of. And what's great about this, it's not telling you to go take whole food supplements, which you can, but it's based on whole foods. You get more out of your whole foods than you do supplements. And of course, if you don't like what maybe some of the oils or things that you need, you can always add a whole food supplement to it. Right. So it's wonderful. So it works great, like I said, with chiropractors' offices, holistic doctors, within the gyms. So it goes for not just the Jack and Jill, but competitors and people that just want to be healthy and fit and live the quality of life that they want to have.
I see. So I'm hearing you say that there's two tracks that people typically take. One is the people who may be feeling healthy and want to get healthier.
Yes.
Like the people maybe from the gym that I know you work with. And then the people with actual health problems that perhaps they're trying to figure out, what can I do to get over this, to get myself better, to help my immune system improve?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So I think you said something real important here, which is that when the genetics determine, let's just say you have a weakness, say a gene that indicates that you may have a weakness to diabetes. A lot of times we can do things that let's say we read a book and it says, don't eat a lot of sugar, make sure you're eating plenty of protein and all these kind of things. But you really don't know how your body is using that and how far you've gone. Maybe there's environmental factors that you don't know about. Yes. So it's really nice that there is a technology that's being developed here that can help us understand how our environment also influences, because we know how diet, we know lifestyle,
yes,
but the environment is huge, and I know this also measures something called is it resonance?
Yes.
EMFs.
EMFs. It definitely does.
Electromagnetic frequencies.
It is.
And everything that we use, our cell phones, TVs, radios, Bluetooth, all that uses these EMFs.
Yes.
Right?
It does. And have you heard last year? I heard for the very first time sick offices.
Sick office.
Yeah, and it's the e-smog that
E-smog.
E-smog. Now that
Okay.
you're going to hear a lot about this, and remember where you heard it first. But the e-smog, because we have our computers, we have our phones on us all the time. We have microwave usage. I'm a year free of microwave, maybe a year and a half, and I can taste the difference in the foods. All those things come up in your reports. So now we have the ability to test and see where you're really at. Not just if you're eating the right amount of different kinds of proteins that your body really needs, or the right amount of vegetables or whatnot. Now we know which exactly ones you need. But it does tell you what you're being involved with and what's affecting you. So then you can put a disc on your phone. You could to block everything out. You can eat the right foods for cleansing your body to protect you. So believe it or not, there's foods. So when you go to the store and you buy a cleanse, so say that you have radiation come up in your report. And right now in Northern California, because of everything that's going on in our environment, we have a lot of radiation here in Northern California.
You're talking about coming back from Japan, the radioactive water is coming in the current?
Yes, I am.
I've seen aerial pictures of the radiation that's coming over here. So
yes, and so
that's an issue.
It is an issue.
It wasn't an issue 10 years ago, but
people
it
are
is now.
shocked. Yeah, people are shocked when it comes up, and I've had more just recently, more radiation than ever. A lot of people want to go and do a cleanse right away. But which is fine, you can do a natural cleanse. But if you do what the report says, it will give you a list of things you can add, and they're all natural, like cilantro. Believe it or not, and if you look on the label of the cleanses, guess what's in there? Cilantro.
Right.
So
you can just eat more.
Just eat more, and then you're going to get the results better from it. And then if you still have issues in 90 days, you can be retested and see where you're at. And you wouldn't believe the experience you get from after eating whole foods, the right whole foods, getting your vitamins and minerals and amino acids right, blocking the EMFs from your system, or eating the right foods, and it's just amazing what results you can get from that.
Well, since you mentioned the EMFs, and I don't want to indicate that that's the only thing this tests, it's one of many, which you're going to explain. But it's interesting, since I have observed some of the people you have scanned, people who live in the same environment, who are watching probably the same amount of TV, who use the same cell phones. One person has a high exposure level and another person not so much. And that's the genetic differences between us. Some people are more susceptible to that. And it's good to know that if it's affecting your health, the person next to you may not be.
Right.
But how do you know?
How do you know? That's exactly it.
And so this is a good way to show us that. Now show us some of the other parameters, some of the things that it measures that perhaps the audience wouldn't really guess that this shows.
Yeah, let me just show you. I'm going to switch over here to the Optimal Wellness Report. Now they're both the same, except for this really works with the gut. The Wellness Report works with the gut. And let me open this up. I'm going to open this to page 3. It's a lot of information, but it's very self-explained. Again, step by step with it. But say for, it actually gives you a list of issues.
Can you hold that up
a list of issues, yes, that you're going to be working on according to what you're low in. So it may be you're dehydrated at a cellular level. And you keep drinking water, you just can't get satisfied. Well, maybe your minerals are off. A lot of times that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Or it might be hormonal, it might be energy production, it might be sleep. But when you get everything balanced, it's going to support you in those situations. It's also going to give you food restrictions. These food restrictions are really, they want you to switch out your foods. Most people eat the same foods all the time. And guess what? You build up antibodies to the foods.
You can.
So
it's
you
through gut problems.
Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about that on previous shows, where the body can actually create antigen responses to food you eat too routinely.
Yeah, it's too routinely. Well, that's wonderful. So this goes right along with what you just showed. So
what you're showing.
So it's really what you.
To.
So most of it, a percentage of it is going to be foods you eat all the time. A percentage of it will be, so maybe trout came up, and people will say, "Cynthia, I don't eat trout." Well, you're getting it if you're taking your amino acid. I mean your fatty acids.
Yeah.
So maybe it might come up with gooseberries, and then that's because you taking antioxidants. So it's in your system someplace. These things come up, and it's wanting you to switch them out. And it's going to give you a cover of really what's going on with your system here, and it's going to break it down. And then once I was telling you, it's
you say what's going on with your system.
Yes, this is your cover page. So it's going to tell you, it's going to give you a quick
it's breaking
breakdown.
out fatty acids, foods, minerals, vitamins.
All these things are over here. You're right.
And additives.
And additives.
So you could be sensitive to food additives as well.
It's going to give you a list of additives too. Let me see if I can find that page really quick here. So we know that we get a lot of additives in our food. Now, I've been eating whole foods for like the last 10 years. But I guess what? I had a ton of additives came up, and they were in my workout products, my protein drinks, my post-workout, all those different things. And what was interesting is that when I looked them up, I was like, oh my gosh, so this is affecting my gut, and I'm not absorbing my nutrition. And let's see here, I should have marked this. Bear with me just for a second here. And here we go. It's going to show you the additives, the food additives. Look at the list of the additives it'll come up with. And these are things that found in your system. So what you need to really do is look these up and then be able to find them in your nutrition. It's things you're eating all the time. So I just switched out my protein drinks. I got rid of a few things. I didn't need my pre-workout. I didn't need any of that. And guess what? Once I got my food right, I had plenty of energy. I have tons of energy. So it's really amazing. So those are the things you really don't know what's going on with your gut until you really find out what additives are in the products you're eating.
Right. There's so many hidden things. There's tens of thousands of chemicals that are added to our environment, food, water, every year, and there's no way that they can all test not only how they individually affect us, but how they're affecting us collectively. What we know, and again, we started the program off understanding a little more about epigenetics. And epigenetics means that if you have a buildup of these residuals in your body, they can create what's called oxidative stress. We've heard of free radicals. Well, those oxidative stresses are what causes aging, cell death, and disease. So if you have them and you don't know, well, you can do all the cleanses and maybe you help, maybe you don't, but you don't know. So
you don't know. So this has really helped my clients, and I wanted to show you one of the main things. A lot of people want to take a pill, which is great if it's a whole foods supplement, great, you're right. So you don't want to put a lot of chemicals in your system. But what if you look at this? It's going to list the things that you need more of. It's going to give you a list of foods to eat. So I suggest for my clients to go ahead and circle the things they like to eat, because I know back in the day, I would sit down with my clients and I would make up a meal plan with them. They would go home, because we were guessing, do they need to be more fats, more carbs, or what they need, and do it for 30 days and come back, we'll see what results. Well, guess what? They didn't eat it half the time because they didn't like the things that are on the list, right? So who wants to have a program made for them? So they can circle the things they like, and then it says here, it's just self-explanatory. Mix in 2 or 3 things out of each one of these categories. And so then you got your meal plan. And you start feeling better. And I've had great results with weight loss, bloating of the stomach, irritable bowel syndrome, all kinds of different things. So it's been amazing.
So you mentioned that you do a 90-day follow-up,
Yes.
and that lets the person know that if they're eating enough of those, now they've taken care of that problem, and now their body may be excreting more of those toxins. So you're looking at finding out, you know, how to fine-tune things. So I'm assuming that this is something that you would follow up maybe more than 90 days. This might be a yearly thing that people do.
Yeah.
You know, like we have a yearly physical exam. Well, let's face it, physical exams try to find evidence of pathology. Where have things gone so badly that now you have a disease?
Yes.
Wouldn't it just makes so much more sense to start at the very beginning and say, how can we make things best all the time? Optimal health, prevention. This is true prevention, knowing how our environment is affecting us, knowing if the food that we think is good for us really is. You know, this is really, it makes a lot of sense. So can you talk a little bit more about some of the other, this measures so many different areas.
Yes, actually too, with the Optimum Wellness Report, talks about resonance. So
Resonance.
Now this is talking about your gut. And of course, you're going to be this report is going to be actually with a chiropractor's office or somebody that's, or a doctor's office, a wellness professional, because you want somebody that can really follow up with this. So for instance, when you look at this, it's going to tell you if you have fungus and how your body has been supported, what you need to support your body for, because it's a great heal, it's going to heal itself if you give it what it needs to heal.
Right.
And so, and it will come up with different things, maybe bacteria. See how this is only outlined? Because it's considered. It's divided up in 3 categories, the report is. Advisory, priority, and consider. So it's just consider. So, and with a little bit of bacteria. So we're going to really look at that. Or maybe the fungus would come up. And maybe it's covered in all the way. That means, you know, and then we're going to start looking at different things in your lifestyle. Maybe it's time to really start cutting back on your sugar intake, and it's going to really tell you you need to add a probiotic for this, or what you need to actually do and what you need to eat to support your body in it. Also, parasites, post-virus, a virus. Now, I had Crohn's disease for many, many years, and I was going to the hospital having my immune system put down, and for 10 years, and took 3 hours every 8 weeks, and it cost $4,000 each time, which is great. I did it because I felt like I had to, and I did at the time. It was wonderful. But since I've got my body balanced, and that came up with post-virus when I first ran my report, it's like, aha, okay, but this gave me the tools I needed to do, and of course I did them to the T because I have that background, that personality.
Yes.
And I was able to get myself where I don't have to go in for Remicade treatments any longer. Not saying if you do this that you can get off your medication. I'm saying that this will support your body in healing itself. So it's a great opportunity. And then along with this page, if you go to page 27, there's a list of things what to do for each one of these categories if they come up for you. And say that bacteria came up. It could be that it's good bacteria or bad bacteria. So you have to look and see, is the person taking too much, maybe they're really taking too much of their probiotic.
That is a problem. I have people all the time, they've heard the commercials on TV, they've read this magazine that says you need to take more probiotics, and they're putting so many bacteria in their body. Now they've got an overabundance of 1 or 2 bacteria, but there's hundreds of beneficial bacteria, and you can't possibly put them all in a pill.
No.
So yeah, people do that all the time, but this will help you to know whether the bacterial balance is askew.
Yes, it really will.
Good.
And then you really need to look here and see, okay, what does it say to do about this? And like turmeric, we know that turmeric is really great for bacteria. Ginger is wonderful. Fermented foods. Well, maybe you don't need to add the fermented foods every day or too many. Maybe that's what they're doing. But you can kind of look at this. You can look at this, and you can really see the writing on the wall. So it's really wonderful. And so also, like I was saying, talking a while ago about the microwave, that's a huge one. And there's other things in here. So it does so many different things. Dr. Parks.
I wanted to mention to you, one of the persons that you scanned showed up high in uranium. We don't have a Geiger counter to determine whether they, how bad it was or where they got that.
Yes.
But we were talking earlier about how things like this, the nuclear power plant in Japan, when it melted down, the water is contaminated with radioactivity, and it's coming right at us. So fish that are caught and eaten have that radioactivity in them. So this person was interesting when we put them through the detox program to pull out heavy metals.
Yes.
The one thing that showed up with uranium was the symptoms, the very symptoms that they were having. So in homeopathic treatment, there's always a set of symptoms that go with a particular remedy. So when we looked at that, I went, oh my gosh, all the symptoms relate to this specifically uranium. So I gave them the homeopathic and some other things to do, and it cleared them up within about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. So there was some interesting thing. Now, what I tried to do is to do what is called a urine provoke test. So we actually tried to see how much uranium their body was excreting. It came up a little bit, but not so much. But perhaps that's not the best way to evaluate, because again, the symptoms, this test came up, and that treatment, if you will, took care of the problem. So I just wanted to let you know that's kind of a
yes, it's wonderful.
A show and tell, but that's how this can be useful, is to look at things like that. And you mentioned vitamins and minerals. It looks at those things as well to see how your body. And hair is good for this because hair grows slowly, and what you're looking at is sort of an average over the last several months?
Yeah, 90 days.
90 days, okay.
And so, and remember, yes, it's the outside part of the hair, but it's mainly too, we get a lot of this information for the vitamins, minerals, things like that are missing are from the follicle of the hair that's been under the skin for 80 days.
Right.
So that's the most important part about this. And it's got a special S-drive system that's on the computer when it's ran. Yes, and it's amazing. Most people, when I first scan them on their first scan, most people are really low with their amino acids and their minerals. And then they are very thirsty because they're not getting nothing's staying in their system. So that's right off the bat usually. And if you look up different amino acids that you're low in, like people say, oh, my legs have been cramping, or I have restless leg syndrome, and all these things up, being dizzy, that could be because they're low in lysine. So you take this lightly, but if you're not eating the right amount of proteins, when I was doing shows, I was bodybuilding, and I was eating all the time, and I was getting not enough right amount of the right proteins and amino acids. But it's amazing. It's
true. The people oftentimes tell me I drink a gallon of water a day, and I know they're dehydrated from the tests that I do. And like you said, if you're drinking too much water, your body is eliminating the minerals along with that water that's excess. And therefore, if you don't have the minerals like the electrolyte in a battery, if you don't have enough electrolyte in your cells, it can't hold the water. And so it just goes right through. So this will help you with that. Now, we've got a couple minutes left, so I'd love to hear some stories. Don't mention names, but tell us some of the people that have come to you maybe with some of their symptoms or health problems, what you found, and how things changed when they looked at their lifestyle, diet, and environment.
Yes, see, the first thing that comes to my mind is a weight loss client, and I know we're all always trying to lose a little bit of weight, and we want to be totally healthy also. And I had worked with him for quite a few years, decided just to continue building lean muscle mass because he wasn't able to really drop weight or stay in the program. We ran the report. we got the food. He wasn't used to cooking, and so we got him on got the right foods for him just to eat. He actually had a lot of, I didn't realize, a lot of inflammation in his gut. He got on probiotic. He did the things that it said to do, and this was in November. So by January, he thought he was to his goal because his stomach was much more flat.
Wow.
He felt good. He could move around. He could play with his grandkids, and that was what he really wanted to do. He wanted to play. So it was getting the inflammation under control in his gut. So that was really huge for me to see him gain that. And then finding out that another client finding out that they had a fungus and getting the fungus under control. They knew they were always sick with asthma, allergy symptoms, and guess what? As soon as they stopped eating the things that were said on the report, started switching those out. They noticed a difference because they were actually kind of have sensitivities to oatmeal, believe it or not. So when they started after 90 days adding the oatmeal back in, they started getting the ears hurting, the throat, and the nose running. So to me, it's just amazing to be able to help people.
Yeah, you have to starve out sometimes the pathogens, and that could be parasites, could be bacteria, fungus, yeast.
Yes.
All these need certain things to survive. So if you're helping people to see where the problem is coming from, sometimes it isn't that they're eating too much sugar, it's their body, the gut is out of balance. Sometimes the vitamin mineral imbalances are creating this. There's just so many things in our environment right now that create imbalances for us. And you know, the good news is our body's really good at compensating for that, and it'll get you through. You'll still hunt and gather like you've been used to.
Yes.
But what we've been lacking is the ability to say, how healthy are you? We can tell you when you've gone into the guardrail and now you're into pathology. That's easy. That's what labs do.
Right.
But when we want to say, are you driving, is your health in the middle of the road where it should be, between the lines? We run short on that. So the whole study of functional medicine works with people like you to have tests that will give us more information about how our bodies are really functioning, what's really going on in there.
Yes.
And so I appreciate you doing this. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, what would be the best way? Tell the audience how to get a hold of you for more information.
Why don't you go ahead and call me. My name's Cynthia Johnson, and call me at 916-784-6226. And the name of our business is Optimum Wellness. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Well, I thank you. And again, I know that this technology will continue to evolve. And so the more information that we can get about ourselves, the more control we have about keeping our own selves healthy. Well, thank you again for coming, and I really appreciate your work.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.